Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Digital EDU Dialogues podcast. I am Angela Britcher, and joining me today is Dorothy Miraglia, our Vice President of Professor Services here at the VAB Group. Dorothy, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Angela.
It's always good to have you here with me for one of our chats. And today we are going to talk about faculty trainings, and a little different than our usual. We're not going to talk about how to create them. We're going to talk about being a participant in them and what the benefits of those are and why it's so important for us as adjunct faculty to really take these seriously, because right now so many schools are requiring them and you teach them.
Right.
So let's get started with, so we want to talk about why it's so important to be in them, but also how we as faculty need to be taking them seriously and participating in them. So let's get started with some of the benefits of participating in these.
Okay. So as everybody's, familiar with, once you're hired through HR, you get enrolled in faculty training. You're with a facilitator, with an instructor, and amongst your other peers who are also going through the same process. So the benefit of this is you get to know the school's culture, the policies, focus more on the mission, the values, their resources. How do they help students? What tools are available to them? So it's basically, think of it as like a crash course of the university you're working for. It allows you to network, build your relationships with other instructors, even with your trainer, and brush up on your skills. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, it never hurts to learn new techniques, new skills, share what you've done in the past with other professors, and it's a great way to grow as an instructor.
I have experienced all of those things. And one of the things I really like is those discussion boards that we have. And so not only do I get to know how that school is using the LMS, like, for example, I work for a couple of schools that use Canvas, but they use it very differently. And so I get to experience that, but I love that I get to hear from other instructors about what's working for them and maybe what some of their challenges are and how they've overcome them. So that is one of the things that I really love about participating in these, as well as I think having an understanding of what the expectations are for instructors. If you could talk a little bit about that and how you see that in some of the trainings that you are faculty on.
Sure. So some candidates go into training thinking, well, I have the job. I don't really have to put the work into the training. And that's not entirely true, because most schools will not officially hire you until you complete the training. So you want to take this seriously and put yourself in the role of the student. Do the work, be diligent, read all the instructions, especially those peer replies, because from my experience, every week when we have the peer replies in the discussion board, there's different requirements. And that's where a lot of candidates suffer, because they're not reading. They assume, oh, I just go in and I reply to somebody, but that's not the case. So be diligent, read through everything, take it seriously. It's your way of showing the school, I'm serious about working here. This is my skill set. You're showing the school, this is what I can do. It's one thing to, show yourself in an interview and nail the interview and talk about your skills, but this gives you the opportunity to put them to work. And the school can see what you're good at, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And it just gives you that you're representing yourself as a professor and how you would interact with students and how you would grade papers with students.
One of the things that I like to bring to these trainings is I go in as a student, kind of that old mantra of going in with beginner's mind. So I like to go in and act like I am a student. I take it like I need to submit things on time. I need to follow the instructions, as you talked about, and participate. Talk about some of the things that you're seeing around timeliness and commitment and why that's so important.
You have to submit on time. You have to take the course seriously. I've had candidates, I've given them second chances, and they'll come back and say, well, how about I submit it this day instead? You can't negotiate. You have to treat it as, this is the student, this is the policy. I have to be fair to my instructor and the school, because they're offering me this opportunity to work for them. So take the course seriously. And, like I mentioned, read through everything, take notes, just immerse yourself in all the material and really get to know the university, their goals, and make sure it's a good fit for you. Because you may think you want to work for this school, and once you're in the training, you may say, you know what, this is not the good fit for me.
That's such a great point. I talked to another professor recently that had that experience. They went through a school's training and said, "This is not for me. This is not how I want to teach. This is not how I like to interact in the classroom." And I realized that they were not going to be a good fit and ended up not teaching for them. But then, of course, another opportunity opened up.
Mhm.
I like to think when it comes to timeliness and commitment, that's just demonstrating my professionalism.
Yes.
As you and I work with other, aspiring adjuncts, it's, you want to show up like a professional adult. Like, I'm
Mhm.
ready to work and work for you. I'm going to take this seriously, just as we expect our students to. So it's a job. And so we have to treat the training like it's the first step in the job, is how I always like to think about it. Speaking of that, you talk about like this, it really does have job implications. And if you don't complete the training or you don't complete it on time, it can influence whether or not a school gives you courses to teach.
Oh, absolutely. I've had quite a few situations when candidates didn't complete the work, didn't do it, what was asked, and they unfortunately failed the training and they were not hired by the university.
Mhm.
And, many jump into the training and say, well, I don't have the time to do this. So if you don't have the time to do the training, how are you going to have the time to teach a course? So you have to, take that seriously and budget your time and say, okay, well, if I was teaching a course, how do I fit this into my schedule? So when you are a faculty candidate taking that training, just consider it, this is my timetable if I was the actual instructor. And how does this, fit into my daily routine and with my other jobs?
I see a lot of times people coming into the trainings thinking, but I already teach. Why do I have to take one more training?
Right.
And I agree. It's an opportunity to learn and grow about the school, but it's
Mhm.
also another opportunity for professional development. So talk a little bit about how you think of these trainings as a professional development tool that for us adjuncts that we can really learn and grow from.
Right. So I've had a lot of candidates say, I've taught for 10 years, 20 years, and they jump into this training and they say, you know what? This is actually a really good refresher. I'm improving my skills. I'm learning new techniques. I'm learning different ways to reach out to learners through their different learning styles. So I don't think there's ever a downside to training because there's always that opportunity for learning and for growth. I see a lot of instructors say, "Oh, I never worked with a certain LMS," and then they learn this and they find, "Wow, this is a really good way." Then they network with other peers in the classroom in the same field. They share resources. "Oh, I can use this for my class," and there's a camaraderie that comes with the faculty training. So consider it, professional development. Put it on your CV. I took this faculty training course and benefit from it. I know we all don't want to take training. We just want to be hired and have the job. But there's a method to the madness about it. And again, you have to understand the school's policies and what resources are available to students. In one of my courses, the candidates really dive into every resource available at this university, whether it's library sources, tutoring, or mental health. We surround the candidates with, here's every resource for what your students may need: personal, professional, emotional, so that you really want to just dive into that culture and how they approach students and the care and the concern that they have for students. And again, make sure it's the right fit for you.
You said a couple of things that I think are so important, and that idea of we get to learn different tools. And I think even when it's an LMS we've worked in, they might be using it in a different way. So we get to learn new ways of being in that LMS. And I know for me, like depending on what school I'm teaching at, they have different requirements for grading, for late assignments, for how they want us as faculty to participate in the discussion board. Different requirements as far as if the course is created by an instructional designer or if I'm expected to create the course and add the resources. And so I think those are such helpful things. And I get to learn and grow from that university as well as from my peers in every training that I'm in. So I'm always so grateful for them. One thing that I think that we should note is that it kind of depends on the school. Like you are working in faculty and managed trainings, right? Where there's someone like you who is facilitating the training.
Right.
I've also participated in self-paced trainings. And I think it's so important to remind people that, again, the school is, your employment is contingent upon you completing even a self-paced training. And you may have 2 weeks to do it, then how
Right.
important it is to, again, reach out to whoever your person is at that school, whoever your contact is regarding that training, so you can keep in touch about getting through that training and meeting the requirements for it so that you are prepared.
Right. So that's a good thing to bring up. I have a lot of candidates email me with questions. They want to talk on the phone. It's okay to do that. Your trainer is there to see you succeed. So don't feel like it's a weakness. We tell this to our students all the time. Always ask us questions. The same goes for faculty training. You don't understand an assignment, you need clarification, you're having trouble finding a resource. Reach out and ask the questions because your trainer wants to help you. You know, the trainer knows you were chosen for a reason to make it this far. So it's our job to help guide you and see you pass the course.
I love that idea that we're being a student and we're working with a faculty member. So reminding ourselves that, again, it's not just be a student to go in and learn and grow, but be a student and there's a teacher there to support you, and reminding ourselves of that. You talked about adding this to your CV. Talk about, I know we get this question a lot, specifics about CVs. Where on my CV should I add that I am an certified online instructor at this university, or what those?
I have a section of my CV basically called professional development and training. So I just make my list there of every training that I've taken from every school.
Okay.
You just have to list it. You don't have to go into the details. Just list the name of the school and the training and the year of when you took it. Very simple.
Excellent. That is some great advice about how and where we should add that. And I'm thinking if it's on our CV, we should add it to our LinkedIn and any other professional profiles.
You can, absolutely.
As well. Anything else, Dorothy, that you think is really important as we approach faculty training as students, as student faculty?
Try to enjoy it. Take notes, save your work that you do for later on for your courses to make things easier for you. Most often, I know for the school I work for, the faculty training classroom never closes. So candidates have continued access. I even have access after about 4 or 5 years. But, keep checking in, remind yourself of what's expected of you, and just embrace it and get to know the people you're working with, because it's a great opportunity to not only network, but maybe one day you say, you know what, I want to be a faculty trainer. It's another way to open the door, because it's happened with me where I enjoyed the faculty training course so much that years later, the position opened. I said, well, I'm going to apply for this. So it's just another way to build your skill set and add to your CV.
Great. Dorothy, thank you so much for joining me today. And I think some great information for all the adjuncts in our circle.
It's always a pleasure, Angela.
Today's episode is brought to you by Professor Services. Looking for a job in teaching? Need to expand your network? Want to boost your income? Whatever it is, the expert team at Professor Services has you covered. From helping higher ed faculty find new jobs, to essential tools such as cover letters and CVs, to applying to jobs for you, Professor Services equips you to nail your job search. Don't stress over the job hunt. Maximize your potential and crush your next opportunity with support from our team of experienced administrators, mentors, and educators. Discover how the team at Professor Services can help. Visit professorservices.com today to get started and kickstart your career in higher education.